Hi, I'm Stephanie Dyer, and this is Escape Into a Cause, the podcast for people who want to do more for their community and are trying really hard not to get swallowed by their to-do lists in the process. You're not alone. This morning, I saw a post from Adam Grant, one of my favorite people to listen to, where he shared a clip from his TED Talk on languishing. It's such a good word for something almost all of us feel at some point, but rarely name. He was describing that feeling where you're not burnt out, not depressed, but just meh. Like you're moving through life with the parking brake on. He talks about how so many of us can fall into these late night spirals, doom scrolling, binging shows we don't even like, playing hours of online Scrabble, and then waking up the next morning thinking, okay, tonight I'm going to go to bed at a normal hour, but we don't. Not because we're hopeless or alone or even tired, we're just stuck. This sense of stagnation, that fog, it has a name. And when he said it, I instantly felt like, yes, that. Languishing. And what helped him out of that state wasn't a productivity hack or a gratitude journal. It was Mario Kart. He started playing it with his family during the pandemic and realized it gave him 3 key things. So think about these. 1, a sense of mastery. 2, mindfulness. And 3, mattering. He was doing something well, doing it with full attention, and doing it with and for the people he loved. That's what helped pull him out of the fog. And just think about that for a minute and how diving in and escaping into a nonprofit or a cause could probably offer you that same outlet. That's how I've come to think about this podcast. It gives me purpose, it helps me focus, and I get to hear stories that actually matter, stories that remind me why any of this community stuff is really worth caring about in the first place. It's a small win that makes a real difference. And if you're one of those that have been experiencing languishing lately, just feeling a little bit meh, I hope that you've started to get involved with nonprofits, and I hope maybe, just maybe, this can help pull you out of the fog. Again, it's about getting involved, but not only getting involved. If you've heard past episodes, it's about getting with your family, showing up, building those memories, and doing something that matters. Again, every week, I get to talk to people doing the work, people who are showing up for their communities in real, grounded, often under the radar ways, and I get to bring along my friend and co-host, Courtney Dickey, who just wrapped up her term as president of the Junior League of Austin. Congrats, Courtney. They won 3 awards last year, and a lot of that has to go to their leadership team with Courtney steering the ship. And this week, for the first time, we're adding another expert to our Topics That Matter segment, and we're so glad she's here. Piper Steggy Nelson, Executive Director of I Live Here, I Give Here, is jumping into the conversation. If you haven't heard her full episode yet, definitely go back and check it out. Today, she's joining us to talk about something that might not sound thrilling, but it is really important: tax policy. Because here's the thing, tax codes aren't just paperwork, they shape giving. They determine who gets rewarded for being generous, who doesn't, and what that says about what we value as a society. I studied tax before pivoting into corporate accounting, and I still love thinking about how incentives drive behavior. So yes, I was genuinely excited to dive into this one. And then I sit down with Jennifer Poteat, the Executive Director of Colin's Hope, and this one is timely and heavy and important. If you live in Texas, you already know summer means water. Pools, lakes, splash pads, rivers. But drowning is still the #1 cause of accidental death for children under 5. Think about that. Colin's Hope was created after the tragic loss of 4-year-old Colin Holst, who drowned in a public pool in 2008. Since then, his family has worked to make sure that no other parent experiences what they did. Jennifer shares Colin's story, practical steps every parent and caregiver should know, and how Colin's Hope is helping families enjoy water safely. It's a conversation every Texan should hear. I highly recommend reading Colin's full story at colinshope.org. Just head to About Us and click on Colin's story. Thank you to Jennifer and the very small team making a difference at Colin's Hope. And a heartfelt thank you to the Holst family for allowing your story to be shared and for turning unimaginable loss into a mission that's saving lives. Quick note, this is our last episode before a short summer break. A lot of nonprofits slow down this time of year, and we are too. We'll be back on July 24th with more episodes and more causes worth escaping into. Until then, go back and listen to an episode you missed, or better yet, send a quick message to a local nonprofit. Ask how you can help. Stop languishing. Even a small step matters. All right, let's get into it. Starting with how tax policy shapes generosity, and then diving into the life-saving work of Colin's Hope. I hope you enjoy. Today, I have Piper Stuggy Nelson, the executive director of I Live Here, I Give Here, which organizes Amplify Austin Day. Hi, Piper.
Hi.
And we have Courtney Dickey, who is now the former president of the Junior League of Austin, who has been so involved in nonprofits for the past 15 plus years and has been my partner in crime in this show for all of our topics that matter. Hey, Court.
So glad to be here.
Later today, we are going to escape into Colin's Hope. They believe drowning is preventable. They teach parents, caregivers, and children about water safety to prevent drowning. I'm excited to escape into Colin's Hope later. First, we're going to talk about something. So I got my master's in taxation at the University of Texas in Austin.
Wow.
Hook 'em. They're the #1 accounting school in the country.
I had no idea.
Wow.
That's right. Little did you know. So my husband always jokes that I probably shouldn't say this out loud. People will cancel me. I'm not a huge UT football fan. I know football, but I don't know really who's playing next. I don't pay attention.
It's not that you're not a UT football. You're just not a college football fan. You're not a football fan. Do you like NFL? You do because your husband a little bit.
I am forced to watch it from time to time.
You are.
When the stakes are high, I'll watch it. So like even when the stakes are high, I enjoy that. But some professor joked around, they should have a sign that's, we're #1 in accounting. Like
With the little finger.
Yeah.
Yay.
The reason I bring this up is because today's topic that matters that we're going to dive into is tax policy.
Confetti.
I'm so happy that you threw fake confetti and clapped. I know neither of you are tax experts, but I'm sure you have some idea. Do you think that tax policy influences giving?
I think tax policy does influence giving. Absolutely.
In a good way or a bad way, Piper?
Well, it depends on which direction the policy's going.
From, again, not a tax expert, but and you're going to tell us more, which I'm grateful for. But it seems to me that a couple of years ago, they changed the tax policy at the federal level so that it was less beneficial to individuals to give charitably. There were higher standards, blah, 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 blah. What we have seen then is that fewer people are giving. The dollars have stayed mostly the same, but the number of people giving has gone down. And that's nationally and that's locally, which obviously I'm more concerned about the locally.
Courtney and I discussed this.
Oh, good.
Donors are down, dollars are up is what they say.
Yeah, and I would argue that dollars are steady, but donors are down.
Because the one thing we don't want to do is try to pass on this word that the dollars are there and increasing, and then people feel like they don't have to get involved because we do want to increase that number of donors.
Especially in a time when people are feeling more insecure and scared.
Okay, well, let's go through a quick little history lesson. Do you like history? A little
Love
bit
it.
more
I
than
like
tax?
history.
Yeah.
I love tax history.
I love tax history.
Okay, so quick history lesson. 1917, World War I.
Piper's familiar, yes.
Yeah.
It was a good year.
How was that year? U.S. government was raising taxes to keep charities alive. They made donations tax deductible. They started the whole give and get a tax break system. Anytime someone, and I've had this so many times, someone come up to me and go, flat tax. That's the answer. Okay, there could be a million reasons why that is or is not the answer. I could tell you a million reasons why it's not.
Flat tax rate.
Flat tax. So yeah, everyone pays one flat tax rate.
Yep.
No capital gains, no deductions, nothing. Everyone just pays this on their income. My first question is, do we not want to incentivize people to give to charity or church? Usually their first response is, oh,
I didn't think about that.
So anyway, that's usually my first comeback. Okay, 1980s tax rates were very high and the rich gave a lot to reduce their tax bill. So look at that. When tax rates are high and you allow deductions, they will give more often, which we saw in the 1980s. Now, 2017 was the game changer. And I think, Piper, this is maybe what you were referring to when you said that you think that you've seen giving change because of tax policy. And that was from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017, which changed the game. It doubled the standard deduction, so fewer people itemized.
Yes.
So just to be really clear, so you have two types of deductions you can take on your tax form, either standard or itemized. And the standard deduction is fixed. You don't have to go mess around with it at all. You don't have to figure it out. It's fixed. Itemized, you get to start stacking, say, your property taxes or your state taxes if you live in of course, we don't in Texas, but like in California, that'd be your state income tax. And you get to stack all these, and that's your itemized deduction. And you have to always go calculate the itemized and compare it to your fixed standard, and whichever one is higher, you're going to take. So if you have doubled the standard, and there are now caps on the itemized as well that weren't there before, meaning I can't take all of my property taxes, I can only take a percentage, it's less likely my itemized is going to be higher than my standard now, and so I get no benefit of giving back. That's why that happened. Before 2017, about 30% of taxpayers itemized, And I think it's also a psychology thing because sometimes I think, I don't know whether I'm going to itemize or have a standard deduction. But now at that double, I feel like it's a game changer in psychology of
I'll take the standard.
I will always take the standard.
Yeah. Yep.
The only thing that's going to get me to have an itemized higher than the standard is charity deductions or very specific, like really high medical costs, which most of us aren't incurring in any given year. So before 2017, 30% of taxpayers itemized their deductions. Now it's down to 10%.
Okay.
So fewer small donor tax breaks. And this is also why there's more and more big gifts to DAFs so that they can structure it where you take a standard deduction versus an itemized deduction the next year. You can strategize in that way. If we're going to talk about this, Piper, anyone can use a DAF. So we could strategize as well. If you make $100K, you might most years be in the standard deduction cohort, but maybe you say, okay, I'm going to put more dollars towards that DAF this year. And then the next 2 years, I'll feel okay by going the standard and give to the charities on my DAF.
Love that. Yeah.
So just strategizing. What do y'all think? Do you think tax policy that we need to be more considerate, especially because nonprofits are really essentially covering what governments are not willing to step up
They're
in
filling
terms
the
of
gap.
they're filling the gap.
Service. That's right.
So I feel very strongly about rewarding those that give back. And I almost say it should be a standard deduction plus. Charity deduction should be their own deduction.
Oh, beautiful.
Love that idea.
Yeah.
I can't imagine why you'd have to choose.
Yeah. Vote for Stephanie.
I
That's what we
would, by the way.
decided. Yes,
I absolutely
yes,
would.
Yes. You're certainly more qualified. Yes.
I think that's beautiful. I'm surprised that government does not encourage more people to give. And I am surprised at the federal level, but I'm really surprised at the local level.
Yeah, well said.
Because at the local level, you have our mayor, our city council people, they know many of their constituents to say, you know what, you could give more and be part of the solution. Feels like a very natural thing, and it doesn't happen. I try and wrap my mind around why, and I'm sure that there are good reasons. I just think that as a city, we could be encouraging that more.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it fills in the gaps. It's the backbone of this community.
100%.
Nonprofits are key.
Yeah. You need to have these debates openly with the public. There's so many that ask for less government involvement, less funding. We've got session going on right now. I guess it closes, next week? And you see this debate of we will not fund Catholic charities. It's not the government's responsibility to fund these nonprofits. And I think that's fine, but the counter argument has to be there to say, then who will? And what does that look like? And who are the individual donors that are going to step up in that gap?
And how are we incentivizing them to do so?
Exactly. And that goes back to policy. Fine, take away the funding. How are you incentivizing the funding coming from elsewhere? And are you taking into account all the constituents, all the beneficiaries who will not be served and what that will do for your ecosystem? And it's just super short-sighted. These types of arguments need to be exposed and brought to the light and say, that's a really easy answer. And to say it's not my responsibility. It is someone's responsibility, or people die, or services go unused, or even worse, things that can absolutely undermine an entire community.
Well said. We had 5 new commissioners of the IRS this year. Maybe the latest. I don't know what they're...
This is why I still haven't gotten my tax refund back.
Good for you. You've done your taxes.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you for bringing up really important topics that we need to be talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate your opinions and y'all's expertise.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. We'll be right back. Escape into a Cause is sponsored by Nightlight Insurance Agency. You know how a nightlight gives you comfort and peace of mind in the dark? That's exactly what Nightlight aims to do. Guide you through life's uncertainties with personalized insurance for your home, auto, business, and more. Nightlight Insurance strives to provide its clients the best coverage at the best price without sacrificing on customer service. Here's what one client had to say. Nightlight was able to lower our car insurance significantly, answered all our questions, and returned our calls promptly. Very professional, would highly recommend. So it's no surprise Nightlight has a 5-star rating on Google. Nightlight also makes this podcast possible by covering production costs so all other sponsorship dollars and gifts can go directly to nonprofits and volunteers. And as part of their mission to give back, Nightlight proudly donates $1,000 to every nonprofit we interview. If you are a sponsor interested in giving back to our podcast, please find us on social media and let us know. Nightlight is an agency focused on personalized service and giving back. See how much you could save and how good it feels to have peace of mind by visiting nightlightinsurance.com. Today, we are escaping into Colin's Hope, and we have Executive Director Jennifer Poteat. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, good afternoon.
Let's just dive straight in. Tell me about Colin's Hope.
I love that we're going to dive in because we are in water safety, and Memorial Day is the unofficial start of summer. So what a perfect time to talk about water safety. We are an organization that wants to create a culture where everyone grows up knowing how important it is to be safer around water. We want you to have fun. We're in Texas. It's hot already. Like, we always going to go to the pool or the lake or the swimming hole or the beach. We got that Gulf Coast down there. Our job is to make sure that people know how to have fun, but be safer around water.
Yeah. This summer, we're either indoors or we're in a pool. We're in water.
Absolutely. But we want you to get out and enjoy. So we talk about layers of protection because safety is something that you may already know how to swim, but you have to think about the environment that you're going to be in. So you may think that you're an Olympic swimmer, but say you're out in the lake and you jump off the boat and you get a leg cramp, and gosh, that shoreline's a lot farther than you think. So we always talk about making sure that you wear life jackets if you're on a boat. Stay hydrated because the day gets really hot in that afternoon and you forget that you need to drink a little bit more water. And just making sure that, say you already know how to swim, we always want you to add another layer of protection. We know that unfortunately, children ages 1 to 4, drowning is the #1 cause of unintentional death and injury. So we especially want to teach little kids the layers of protection. And when I'm talking about the layers of protection, it's as simple as saying, you need to wait for a grown-up before you go to the pool, or you get in the bathtub. We have water in our home before you go to the beach. Before you go to water, you want to teach that child, just like we say, hold my hand when we're walking across the street. Wait for a grown-up. Our book is in Spanish and English, and it teaches kids at a very young age to wait for a grown-up. So that's one of the first layers of protection.
And you said ages 1 through 4, it is the #1 preventable death. Is that taken into consideration car accident?
Absolutely. Because we have car seats and seatbelts now. So 2008 is when Colin's Hope was founded. Because unfortunately, Colin Holst, who had swimming lessons, went to a pool, beautiful, sunny June day, lifeguards. He'd finished swimming lessons the day before. So if in 2008, that statistic is still the same today, it means just that people don't realize the risks. And so our job is to say, hey, you have children that are 1 to 4, teach them to wait for the grown-up. Put them in swimming lessons. Oh, and by the way, if you're having a pool party, make sure you have a water watcher. And that is the adult that is going to be sober, paying attention. Can we count the number of kids that are in the pool? Are we constantly keeping an eye on whether or not children are coming up after 15, 20 seconds? Because did you know something? Drowning's fast. It can happen in as few as 20 seconds. So if you're that adult water watcher, and let's see, HEB just updated me and let me know that one of my items is not in stock and I look away, that's 20 seconds. Think about how small children's lungs are. So we want to make sure that adult water watcher is paying attention, making sure that if a child doesn't surface or any individual doesn't surface after about 20, 30 seconds, and that's why you need constant supervision. Go check on them.
Those are real good reminders because sometimes we need reminding too. It's not just the resources up front, but the reminder, hey, this is a real risk for children.
And if everybody's watching,
Yeah.
guess what? No one is watching. So we say that the adult water watcher has that job. You are qualified to be the water watcher. We give you this cute card and it's got a wristlet and this little reminder. It's about the size of a credit card. You wear that on your arm and it is just a physical reminder when you are ready to go take that phone call, get a snack, use the restroom, take a break, hand it off to another adult. Again, everyone is qualified to be a water watcher.
That's a really good advice because we do have a pool at our house.
So I'll give you another statistic. 70% of drownings are when it's not actually swim time. So say you've gone in and had a snack and maybe your son or daughter has left a toy that fell in the bottom of the pool. Guess what? They're going to remember their fire truck or their Power Ranger or whatever it is in the bottom of the pool. And they're going to want to go get that. We know that in 2020, 2024, 103 children drowned in the entire state of Texas. 37 were in backyard pools because we have 800,000 residential pools. We love that we have these backyard pools. Everybody wants to buy a house that has a pool because that way we can escape the heat. So what we do is we have a sticker that can go on your window or sliding glass door that goes out to the pool. And it says something very simple. Check the pool first. If your child is missing, don't go to the front door, check in the driveway. Don't go check in the bedroom. If you've got that backyard pool, check the pool first.
Every parent has gone through a moment, whether that's outside your home, whether that's inside your home, where for a moment your heart does a little dip because you're like, wait, it's getting too quiet. Where's my kid?
Silence
Right?
is golden unless you have a child that is all of a sudden too quiet.
And I love that advice. So instead of going, oh, are they under the bed? Or are they up in their room? Just go check the pool.
Absolutely.
Because that's the one place that you can't risk time.
That 30 seconds, as I mentioned, is how fast a child or anyone can drown.
Tell me, what was that statistic? You said 70%. What was that?
Non-swim time.
Non-swim time. So nobody's expecting.
Or they're in their street clothes.
Yeah. Wow.
We try to say you're going to have access to that pool. So we talk about layers of protection. Make sure you've got your alarms and your barriers and gates that have that self-latch, the self-closing and latching. Because little kids, again, are curious. But we also say that they need to be higher up so they can't reach them. And we know that if you are taking a kid to a pool, say you're going out to the YMCA, you create this distinction. You take your clothes off, you put in your street clothes, you get in the car and you drive home. So there's a distinction. You're actually leaving that pool, that recreation area. But if you have that access 365 days a year, create different patterns. And you say, okay, we're going in and we're going to have a snack. We're going to change into our regular street clothes is what we would say. This is now time. And so educating children, but then also, like we said, the wait for a grown-up. And the grown-up should watch you. If you're teaching a kid, hey, wait for a grown-up. These are simple lessons. Like we say, don't touch the hot stove. We don't want them to learn the hard way. But if we teach them, hey, wait for a grown-up. And when you have a child that you teach this to, this culture of safety, they'll come to you and say, Mom, Dad, can I go to the pool? And you go, hey, wait, Mom's doing something. Can you give me 10 minutes? Or we're actually going to do this morning. Create that separation and understanding and knowledge so that they know why you're telling them no, but making sure that they know it's not swim time, but that you need to come ask me before you go to the water.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And Jen, you're already kind of jumping into your mission, educate, right? I think that's number one is get resources out. Let's educate. Let's reduce that statistic because it's a really devastating statistic. I don't know anyone that's part of that statistic, but I do know two people that I'm very close with that was in the situation where a child was drowning and thankfully rescued, taken to the hospital afterwards. And it's just really scary because one, it's a child's life. Two is there's just this life of guilt for anyone who's either their parent or anyone that's around that body of water. That's something everyone's going to hold with them forever. And I know that it was very traumatizing for the people that were in this event and that nothing ultimately happened to the child at the end. It wasn't lifelong consequences, but there was trauma for the adults.
Absolutely.
It's really a heavy topic. And I like that you're bringing a fun spirit in education and reminding everyone to do all the right steps so that there's less of those events. I do want to focus a little bit for a moment on Colin's Hope specifically, because again, you are just doing exactly what Colin's Hope is meant to do, and it is to talk about how to prevent.
Absolutely.
Colin's Hope, headquartered here in Austin. What is your community that you serve? Is it Central Texas? Can you give us a little bit about who you're serving?
Absolutely. So Central Texas is the home of Colin and his family. And so we do really focus on our area. That does not mean that we don't go to other locations. We go to Houston. We've put up billboards in Houston because the demographics and the statistics say the population in Houston needs to hear our message. But we are all throughout Central Texas. I have a van that I just drove up Mopac that has 179,000 miles on it. And so we go everywhere you can can imagine, Corpus Christi, Sherman, but I go drive around and I take our life jackets to McKinney Falls State Park. It is now the beginning of the summer season. We stock life jackets throughout Central Texas and state parks, local parks, and those are opportunities for families to use that life jacket because life jackets are pretty expensive. The U.S. Coast Guard approved ones that we recommend and the only ones we promote, they're pretty expensive. So we put those out, and through partnerships, we make sure that families have those and they can give them back. We drive around. My van was packed with a pallet full of life jackets a few months ago, and because we buy them in the off season, they're cheaper. And then we buy them in pallets, and then we label them and put them out into the community. And I do have some examples here. They just simply say loaner life jacket, return after use. And again, a child can use that and have that safety while they're exploring swimming holes and lakes. And we just love doing that work.
Yeah, and I'm sure some walk away and never come back, but you're hoping that they're going to be safe
Absolutely.
in the future.
They're being used somewhere in Texas. That's what we fundraise for, is for life jackets, materials, obviously gas for the vehicle. So those are the things that we do.
Yeah, that's great. So Central Texas primarily, but you're trying to send the message across Texas. There's stats usually around like seatbelts and how many lives it saves. Do we know like the percentage, how much a life jacket saves people in water?
I don't have exact statistics, but there is research. I think it was Alabama that passed a law. And so on open water, so whether that's a lake or a creek or whatever body of water, as soon as they instilled that legislation, they went down to 0 in that setting. So life jackets do save lives. The work that we do, unfortunately, is hard to measure. We never know the ones that we save. And like you said, that life jacket may walk away. Hopefully it gets used. But no, we know that life jackets do save lives. We think about places we go here in Austin. Say you're paddleboarding on Lady Bird Lake. Great, fun, exciting. Guess what? If your life jacket is at the front of the paddleboard and you go over, it's not going to help you. The other question I have for you is what's underneath Lady Bird Lake? Most people say you can't get in it because of the bacteria and the algae, which is true. But safety-wise, do you know that there's a former Austin brick company was under there like 100 years ago, and rebar and parts of that industry are still under Lady Bird Lake? And then a few years ago, we had a plane that crashed into Lady Bird Lake.
I didn't know that.
Okay, guess what I've never seen on the news? Them taking that plane out of Lady Bird Lake. So it's still down there.
And people wonder how people pass away in Lady Bird Lake. It happens.
So if you think about it, it may be shallow in places, other places it may drop off, but there's going to be logs. Like I said, there's rebar and brick and part of an industry still down there. So what if you hit your head? What if you dive into Lady Bird Lake and you accidentally hit your head? If you're wearing a life jacket, at least you will come to the surface. So that's what we say. Life jackets worn, no one mourns. It's catchy, but I've fallen off a paddleboard before. Not fun, but I was happy to have my life jacket on.
Yeah. And one of those situations I mentioned earlier was when a young girl who fully knew how to swim got her foot stuck in like some branches and stuff, got her foot stuck. That's a perfect example of parents maybe thinking, oh, they're 10 years old or something, they're fine. 11 years old. You think
Right.
That's old enough. They've been swimming for years. And you did mention this to me. What is the age range where open water versus pools and maybe baths? Could you share that?
Obviously, younger children, infants, are going to be the statistic for bathtubs, usually under toddler age. But then when you get to older kids, say 8 to 17, open water, and especially boys, because they like to be daredevils. They
Probably don't like to wear their life jackets as often.
Exactly. And they like to do stunts. You know, the young girl that you said got her feet caught into something. We always say feet first, especially in open water. You can't see what's below there. I just told you there's a plane in Lady Bird Lake. You can't see that. Just assume that every body of water that you're getting in, except for a pool, is going to have something down below there that you could either get your leg caught in or you could hit your head. Just you can't see there. So water is murky and you don't know what's underneath there.
Yeah. I don't know if you're on social media, but Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, or YouTube, where they have all these guys doing crazy jumps into water. I hate watching it. Am I the only person that just watches it and goes, no, like this is so dangerous. And I'm so scared for these people because they're not like expert divers. They're wanting it for likes. Anyway.
Yeah. I've been to a state park kind of central Texas, and there's a certain place it's not recommended. They say, don't jump off this rock. It's got a famous name. I've been there on a kayak wearing my life jacket, and I've seen young men do this. And the first thing I want to ask is, what is your mom's name? And we have to call her, because you never know what is in that water. We don't recommend you diving into pools, but they are at least crystal clear, and they have markings on the side. All pools should have markings on the depth, whether it be a public or a private pool. You should have an idea of whether it's 5 feet or 3 feet. You never know what's going to happen. Our bodies are not meant to have an impact into water or other surfaces. You never know how you're going to hit the water.
Yeah. I want to switch gears about your programs and what y'all do.
Colin's Hope has education as our primary mission. We need parents and families to know these risks so that we don't have any more statistics. We do that through training. We talk to corporations. We do community outreach. We partner with families, anyone that provides care to children. So we can come talk to a corporate lunch and learn. We love coming and sharing. And then we have resources, obviously our water safety cards, the backyard pool stickers, the books, the bookmarks, all of those things. What we really want to do is share resources and have things that are free and accessible. So we do everything in English and most everything in Spanish. And one of our major resources is our website. It's drowningispreventable.org. It is super fun. We do not advocate parenting via iPad or computer, but it's super fun lessons. So if you have to keep the kids busy on a rainy afternoon, go to drowningispreventable.org. Those lessons are super fun because they're interactive. They have a little quiz at the beginning.
And so they're for children to do. They could do that on their iPad.
Yep. So kids ages, we shoot for pre-K to about second grade. And so it teaches the kids to wait for the grown-up. The one about the life jacket is one of my favorites. You take a little quiz at the beginning and you identify. So it's Colin and friends, water safety. So he's got a little buddy. It's a seal, and that's his pal. And the life jacket one uses science. So we also align with our teaching standards for schools. The state teaching standards here in Texas, we teach floating and sinking. We teach injury prevention. And the one with the life jacket is my favorite because we use a fish tank. It's full of water. You put an orange that has the peel on it into the water and it floats, right? So the orange peel represents the life jacket. And so spoiler alert, if you take off the peel and put it into the fish tank, the orange sinks. And so these are lessons that teach kids, again, water safety, but they are aligned with the TEAC standards. After that little video, then you get some more questions and you get a congratulations, a little certificate. They're super fun. And the Spanish ones are great as well. I don't even speak Spanish, but I love watching them. Those are resources. So we keep that website updated. We are always adding new blogs and resources depending on what month it is. So we talked about bathtub drownings. January is bath safety month. May is water safety month. So just depending on what's going on, we try to keep that updated. Those are free resources.
I love that. If you are a grandma or grandpa, you're an aunt or uncle, and you have a pool, great way to get the grandkids or your niece or nephew over and say, guess what? We're going to have some snacks and you can watch some of these videos when you're at Uncle Ned's house before we get in the pool, because it's easier coming from non-parents, right? To educate. Be a fun aunt or uncle or grandparent and definitely jump onto those resources. Okay. I want to connect listeners to Colin's Hope. Would you like to dive more into Colin's story?
I'd like to introduce you to Colin's family. Jeff and Jana Holst are a great family of faith, and Colin has an older sister, Kayla, and she just graduated from Baylor, and she's now in her first career job, and the family found out in 2008 that statistic that drowning is the #1 cause of death for children ages 1 to 4. I told you it's 2025. It's still the same statistic. So it has been their mission to make sure that they educate families. And I will tell you that as a family, it didn't just impact them. There were other people at the pool that day. There were people that were in the pool that day. I know some of these people. It impacted them. They said, maybe I became strict stricter with my kids, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The incident happened on a beautiful, sunny summer day. There were lifeguards present. Any incident, to your point about the experience that Emily had, it was traumatizing to everyone who was at the pool that day, people who were at the pool that morning. They got phone calls as soon as something happened. All the moms started calling each other. Did you hear? Can you believe this? It's a wonderful family. If it can happen to them, it can happen to anyone. So they have been blessed and have used their faith to share their story and want to make sure that we do share his story in a way that honors his legacy. And so all of our stuff has cute little Colin and Buddy. The van that I drive around has a picture of Colin. My friend that was at the pool that day, I'm always like, hey, every time you see me, am I reminded? She goes, Jen, there's billboards with Colin's face on.
Is this Colin on here?
Yeah, absolutely. That's Colin.
This is the water safety water watcher where you put around your wrist.
He's beautiful, beautiful child. So I drive around in the van and his picture's on the side of the van. There are billboards in Austin with Colin's picture on them. The one thing I would say that the family is probably most proud of is obviously sharing his story in ways that teach kids water safety that's fun. And he used to always say after each day that was really fun, he would have the best day ever. We have an annual fundraiser. It's held in the spring. It will be April 11th in 2026. And we host this best day ever to honor his legacy. And I'll brag a little bit and say that this past year, we were gifted with a surprise announcement. There is a financial partner called Thrivent, and they do investments, they do life insurance. They do my retirement, but they're a nonprofit. Because they're a nonprofit organization, any proceeds go back to other nonprofits. So they have a giving platform that allows their members to donate to nonprofit organizations of their choice. For 10 years, we have been a Thrivent partner. Colin's grandfather, Janet's father, was a Thrivent customer, and he recommended Thrivent engage with Colin's Hope. It's something called Thrivent Choice, and they use these dollars. And so a client can say, okay, I've got $200 this month. I'd like to donate it to charity. And they get to go through a list of potential charities. And after 15 years of Thrivent Choice, we were selected as the recipient of the Thrivent Choice Award. So they came to our best day ever party. They then provided 21 life jackets, and these beautiful red life jackets have Colin's Hope and Thrivent on them.
It's a really nice brand. Sometimes I don't like how brands come out on things. It's really nice. And these are nice life jackets.
I had to work really hard, but it's U.S. Coast Guard approved label on the inside. I mentioned that if you are going to be using life jackets, they need to be U.S. Coast Guard approved. So we were chosen as the Thrivent choice, and we've got life jackets that are branded that will go out into the world and will certainly save lives.
I love that. And thank you for sharing the story of Colin's family. And I want to go backwards just for 1 minute because it dawned on me, because we're focused so much on water safety because you're doing exactly what Colin's Hope was built for. And what a beautiful legacy for Colin. Sometimes people want to know when they're giving their dollar, what is it going towards? And one thing that you let me in on that I didn't know before and I wanted to share is very small staff, 2 staff.
Correct.
The reason I say this is because some people are going, I want to go to a lean nonprofit that's doing as much impact as possible. And y'all really are doing that. And you said, how many miles on your van?
179,000. So please pray it stays together. We
Yeah,
always need
knock on
gas.
wood.
We always need gas money. And then, like I said, these life jackets are pretty expensive. We get them at the end of the season. But if you go out and buy a life jacket, it's sometimes $25. So that's certainly important. Now, we also, as I mentioned, we sponsor those swimming lessons with the Greater Austin YMCA. And I'll tell you what that is. It's Project Safe. It has been going on since 2008. 26,000 kids have taken swim lessons. Now, it's only 2 weeks, and it's aimed at pre-K, kinder, and first. Like we said, we really want the younger kids to get these skills. It is not full-on swim lessons, but these are for kids that are in Title I schools here in Central Texas. They go to the YMCA 2 weeks. It's Monday through Thursday for 2 weeks in a row. What they do is they show up. It is so cute. It's organized chaos because they show up, they get up off the bus, half of the class goes to the pool, they learn to float. We know that children who can learn to float and don't get stressed when they're in the water, then they're going to have a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of grasp themselves. They also learn to swim to the side and then do that kind of monkey walk down the edge. Because if you're not near the ladder or the steps, how do you get out? So we teach the dry land lessons, but the YMCA teaches the swim lessons. So when I said it was organized chaos, so the half that are not in the pool are learning the Collins Hope water safety with Colin and friends, the lessons that are on our website. So they're doing the reach, throw, don't go. They're learning about the life jackets. They're learning to wait for a grown up. Another one is stay away from drains. A lot of pools these days are built without drains, but when we were younger, we would do really dumb things like dive into the deep end and who could touch the drain. Okay, that's not really smart. But the kids are learning these lessons. So the half that are not in the pool are taking the water safety with Colin and friends. And then they switch. And that's the organized chaos because then half of them are wet and they got to get in the other half to get into the pool. But it's fun. And they are learning both the swimming lessons and what we call the dry land Colin and friends water safety.
Yeah. What a fun way to learn.
Swimming lessons can be public or private. So the YMCA, if you're a member, I would estimate maybe one lesson would be like $50. So we're providing 2 weeks of those swim lessons for those kids. And we run them all year long. And I want to say 2,500, 3,000 kids a year take those. So when you're donating to Collins Hope, it's not going to an office. We don't have overhead. We use a lot of volunteers to get our word out. But those dollars that you donate are going to help save lives because children are learning these essential, critical skills.
We did lessons with our kids that were 2 weeks, and it was a woman, I don't know if you've heard of her, but Miss Kathy in Austin. And everyone's, ooh, Miss Kathy, because she is very serious about swim lessons.
Swimming lessons are important. And then one thing that we'll always say is that we recommend the life jackets, but we never, ever condone the use of puddle jumpers or water wings.
What are those?
Floaties.
Yeah, where it goes around like a life jacket. And
there are some swimsuits, but when we were growing up, we would have the arm floaties. What happens is children, first off, they don't have muscle memory. They don't really know that they don't have muscles. They're like rubber bands, and that's great. We want our kids to be flexible because they're always running into walls and falling off skateboards, all those kind of things. But the floaties give them the false sense of security. If you have a child that is learning to be in the water in your backyard pool and they're wearing their floaties, you turn around, they take that floatie off and they get in the water, they may sink. They don't have the recognition. That is what is keeping them afloat. So we say, teach kids swimming lessons, teach them without any aid, but if you need to, get them into the life jackets because the life jackets are actually meant to save you. Those arm floaties are not. The life jackets, the U.S. Coast Guard approved, are designed for children. So the infant ones have the neck that would keep the child, their head above the water. They're designed to be a life-saving device. Floaties are not.
Okay, that's really helpful. And you're talking about just the blow-up floaties that you just roll up the arm. So that's good advice. So if you have a really little one, are there other things that you say don't get or do get?
We always do recommend bright bathing suits. So think about it. Blue bathing suits in water, you usually can't see. Because when I told you that drowning is fast, it happens in as few as 20 seconds. And it sometimes looks like play. So even an adult that is drowning, they're going to be looking like they're climbing a ladder because they're trying to get their mouth and neck above the water line. So it looks like play, especially a small child. When we said being a water watcher, if a child or somebody, anybody is underwater more than about 20 or 30 seconds, go check on them. Because you need to make sure that you're getting air into your lungs. When you have a swimsuit that is the same color as the water, it's harder to see that. If you're going to be out at the lake, neon colors are great.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Make sure that they're bright colors. I even said that. We used to go to Central Market all the time with the kids when they were little. And on St. Patrick's Day, I would always put my kid in like neon orange because I was like, I'm going to lose this kid amongst green. And that was probably the best thing I did. So now I definitely will start using that trick for bathing suits.
Absolutely.
That's so smart.
Absolutely.
Get the hot pink, neon orange, bright yellow. Yeah, very smart. Okay, I like those tips.
And then always make sure your pool should be crystal clear. The chemistry, you should have pool service people. But if water's murky, don't get in it. Because again, you always want to be able to see to the bottom. Because if there was someone that was struggling and that water is murky, you want to be able to see that. And then I will say finally too, that staying within arm's reach for children, especially ones that are not strong swimmers, if you're within arm's reach, you can react. And then also to the point when you said a family averted disaster, it may be because someone knew CPR.
Yes, in both cases, they had to do CPR. Yep.
We're not fish. We're not supposed to have water in our lungs. So getting people out of water as soon as possible if they are in an incident, and then providing CPR with breaths is critical as soon as possible.
Thanks for giving all that advice and tips.
Absolutely. And like I said, you may be incorporating one of these layers of protection, but it's another one you can add because it's never going to be harmful to be safe.
Yeah, good reminders, but also a good few tips I haven't thought about before. So Jen, one thing that I always do, I ask a guest to share a good brag, and any listener that's been listening to a few episodes or many episodes knows that I'm asking you to share with me something that you are proud of doing recently. It could be being kind to a stranger, being a good parent. It could be anything. It could be volunteering for another nonprofit, but it's not related to Colin's Hope.
I do volunteer for other nonprofits. I enjoy serving our community. I think people who are in nonprofits have this bug of we have to give even when we have spare time. The work that we do is hard. I've talked about statistics. So one thing I brag about is that I try every day to exercise, whether that's going to the green belt or now it's a little warm. I actually go to a local Pilates and I just hit 500 classes in like less than 2 years. A lot of times I work out things in my brain, like what's our next billboard going to look like while I'm working out. And if you can get through the day with a little bit of self-care, exercise, and then hopefully I'm strong enough to go swim a little bit longer the next time I get out into the water as well.
I'm glad you brought that up because nobody brings that up that you really need, especially in this line of work in nonprofits. I think the 21st, 22nd interview this year for me, every single person I talk to that spends their life dedicated to a cause and to a nonprofit, you need to make time for yourselves.
It's non-negotiable on Wednesday afternoon because one of them is stretchy and you lay on a foam roller for like 10 minutes. So it's one of those things. It's good to work through some of the designs, whether it's our backyard pool sticker, or like I said, I'm thinking about what is our next billboard in town going to look like. As you're visualizing those kind of things, it also helps when they're telling you to lift some more weights or do more lunges. And you're just like, okay, I'll get out my frustrations here and then go back and be refreshed when I do the work and share our mission.
You saying I invest back in myself so that I can show up for the community each and every day, I think is a really good brag. Let's switch gears and give listeners a chance to earn good bragging rights. How do they show up for Colin's Hope?
I would say go to our website, colinshope.org. It's got a lot of stuff there, only because we do so much. There's a get involved area. We keep our updated volunteer shifts there. We do swim raisers. So if your child is on a swim team, we can come in and do the fun water safety, but then they can swim laps and we can run that through our website so that we can take the donations. A portion of the proceeds go to our mission and then can go back to the swim team because we know you guys that are doing this, you guys have expenses, travel, all those kind of things as well. So you can get involved and go there. And then all of our resources and materials, we try to keep them at a minimal cost, but our Colin's Hope store has our books. So go buy those. And when you start reading to kids, teach them to wait for a grown-up. And so our Colin's Hope store will have all of our resources there and we can ship those out and get those to you.
Yeah, and this is a really cute book I'm looking at right now. Colin and Friends, Wait for a Grown-Up. And it's both in English and Spanish. And it's a great book for a 2-year-old birthday party.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So go to Colin's Hope and go to your store online. Yep. Okay. Yep. I love that. This is a great hard book that you can read to your child when they're growing up. Or again, aunt, uncle, grandparent, friend, buy a book like this for a birthday. I love that. Okay. So show up, donate. Nonprofits really need it, especially right now. Can you tell me a little bit about the swim? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Who would sign up for these swim raisers?
We have competitive teams throughout kids that have these swim leagues. We have one right now going on, and we even had one in Corpus Christi, and that is where Jeff and Jana are originally from. And so you can either do it as like a morning where you have the different ages come in and they swim laps, and the little ones are super cute because they belly flop in and they'll do a half a lap or whatever.
Super sweet.
And then the older ones can do laps. It's a training thing. It teaches them to go out and talk about water safety to their friends and family and neighbors. This is a way for them to go out and be philanthropic and teach them at an early age to go out and support great causes. Escaping into a cause means doing what you can. And sometimes that means giving money. Sometimes that means giving your time, but also giving us the opportunity to come to, whether it's your office, your corporate headquarters, let us come talk to you. We can do everything via Zoom. We do not do Spanish ourselves, but we have Spanish interpreters. So yeah, get us into your community so that we can share this message.
Yeah, swimmers, businesses, anyone can show up for Colin's Hope.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that's top of mind?
It's summer. It's going to be hot. Again, if you're using one layer of protection already, just remember there are more you can incorporate.
If you have a pool, have life jackets around and be safe out there.
Check the pool first.
Check the pool first. All right. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Hey, listeners. Colin's Hope is a powerful reminder that prevention starts with awareness and that every second counts around water. Drowning is fast, silent, and often happens when things seem normal, when there are lifeguards, when family is close by, when it's just for a minute. And again, as Jennifer shared, when it's not swim time. If this conversation moved you, here's how you show up. First, go learn. Visit colinshope.org, read their water safety tips. A few that stuck with me that Jennifer shared: put kids in bright bathing suits, skip the arm floaties, go for Coast Guard approved life jackets. If your house suddenly feels quiet, check the pool first. And always assign an adult water watcher anytime kids are swimming. Also, donate. Your donation helps fund water safety kits, educational programs, and yes, children's swim lessons. Helping a child learn to swim could be the difference between life and tragedy. Every kid deserves swim lessons. Plus, Colin's Hope has a van with Colin's image on it that's logged over 179,000 miles. I saw it. It's a beautiful van spreading awareness across Texas, but in the future, they may need to replace that. So let's start thinking ahead and donate to them. Let's keep their mission in that van moving forward. Volunteer, whether it's stuffing water safety kits or helping at events, there are a lot of hands-on ways to get involved. You can join a swim raiser, raise funds while spreading awareness by dedicating your next swim, lap, or water-based challenge to a cause that saves lives. If you know any young people that swim, this is a great opportunity for them to do what they love, spread awareness, and raise money. And a final reminder, there are fun, engaging ways to integrate water safety with your kids this summer. If you have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, spending time near water, check out the free Collins and Friends water safety lessons at drowningispreventable.org. Colin's Hope has made it easy to turn life-saving tips into kid-friendly interactive learning. To see all the ways you can help, head to colinshope.org/get involved. Thank you to Jennifer Poteat and the team at Colin's Hope for your tireless work, and to the Holst family for allowing your story to be shared and for turning unimaginable loss into a mission to save others. Want a shot at winning Texas Stars hockey tickets? Those Texas Stars hockey games are a lot of fun. You just need to show up for a nonprofit and share it on social and tag us at Escape to a Cause, or use #GoodBrag because we're sharing the good that we're doing, and DM us. Or you can sign up at escapeintoacause.com to get matched with a cause you care about. You'll be entered to win. Let's go spread the message of nonprofits and the good we're doing. Also, just if you never want to miss anything, remember, subscribe to us. We are now on YouTube. You can find us Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Subscribe, follow, see what all the conversation is about each week. And thank you as always to Nightlight Insurance Agency for presenting Escape Into a Cause and for your donation to Colin's Hope. Thank you, Todd Thompson, for editing and mixing, Graham Thompson and Jaden Dyer for the music, Corey McCain at Just Push Record Studios, and Ashlyn O'Neill for digital content. We are taking a short summer break, but we will be back on July 24th. We'll be escaping into Good Work Austin, a nonprofit that's helping restaurants and food businesses raise the bar on wages, benefits, and workplace culture. They're showing what it looks like when hospitality meets humanity and why better jobs lead to better communities. I hope to see you in July when we escape into a cause.